Someone once said that you can't go home again, but they lacked vision. And a temporal discombobulator.
So here we are going back in time again for the third time. This time for Wrath of the Lich King Classics re-release on patch 3.4. This was actually the patch that was released about a year and a half after the original release in 08. So essentially we're going to be playing on content from 14 years ago with 12 years prior balancing. Unlike the re-releases of BC and Classic, the 04 and 07 versions, Blizzard this time around will be doing some hashtag changes. And the player base is all for that, knowing that some of these things do need to be changed. And Chroma, you went a little too far. We need Wrath, not BC. Okay, perfect. So with Wrath of the Lich King's release, on that night on November 12th, 2008, people lined up from all over the world to get their hands on a copy. And bear in mind, most of these people who are standing in line to play a video game probably don't go outside a lot, and this is quite a abnormal thing for them, but they have to get their hands on this copy as soon as possible in a day and age where you don't just have digital downloads everywhere. So as you can see, everyone's enjoying just dancing in front of totally random strangers, doing their favorite dances because they're so excited they can't control it, because they know very soon, just like the mana-addicted Blood Elves, that they will soon be able to get their gaming addiction fix with their favorite World of Warcraft expansion. And just like putting the Frostmourne sword back into the glacier, which is symbolism for putting a needle in your arm, which is akin to these people's excitement as they wait in line for hours to get their favorite expansion, then they're able to purchase it, drive home, install the OG launch disc, as they start foaming at the mouth as they type in their login.
I play, my son plays, my daughter plays. Long live World of Warcraft.
This man regrets these words to this day, as his whole family ended up being homeless after playing WoW for the last 14 years. Backed up by the numbers, Wrath of the Lich King was actually the peak of WoW's subscriber count, and in the first quarter when it was released, they reached 11.5 million subscribers. Copies sold reached 4 million in just the first month, breaking all records. Even the Google Trends search data was the highest in Wrath as well. Even some popular series and celebrities such as the Pawn Stars got in on the hype.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man.
What is this?
This is a Frostmourne sword from the World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft?
Okay, is this one of those games where people stay up like 2 or 3 days and play it?
Sometimes people play this, they play for days and days and days. And days.
Not really, you know. I mean, yeah, I'm sure. Let me tell you right now, though, I will say.
Don't carry a laptop with you around the world, though.
I have a laptop in the hotel to play World of Warcraft. I got 4 accounts, 4 70s. I have a 65, a 61, and another 62. Pretty soon I'm gonna have 7 level 70 guys over 4 accounts. I'm not playing, man. World of Warcraft is life for me.
World of Warcraft, I need to play.
Our demo was set up right over by the...
Got to sign in. Character name. All right, I'm in.
So as you log into Wrath and you're on your maiden voyage to Northrend, maybe it's not your maiden voyage and you've actually played Wrath originally or maybe on private servers over the years. Nonetheless, it will still be a new experience for everybody because they are going in this with some experimentation as well as coming in on the final patch, which never existed in the original.
It's begun.
So with the release of Wrath of the Lich King, they added many new features, including the achievement system, and this would allow you to do various challenges to get things like titles, mounts, pets, as well as have a number next to your name. They also added the ability to fly at a much earlier level than at in-game like in BC. You're able to get cold weather flying at level 77 on your first character, and after leveling one up, you could get a BOA item that would allow you to send the flying ability to anyone level 68 or higher. They also added various raids, including the revamped Naxxramas 10 and 25 man. Now, at the time, that was very exciting for a lot of people because a very small percentage of the player base actually even stepped foot in Naxx, let alone cleared it, back in the original classic WoW. Nonetheless, the revamped Naxxramas versions were far easier than the 40-man back in Classic. So with the min-max mentality that many people have going back to these old classics, Blizzard has indicated that they want to keep the difficulty higher of all the raids. They also added 2 other raids in the Eye of Eternity and the Obsidian Sanctum, both available in 10 and 25-man modes. The Eye of Eternity was really designed to showcase the expansion's new vehicle combat, riding on a mechanical drake, which just happens to look like a normal organic drake, shooting at a giant drake in a magical space on a floating blue disc. Then you had Obsidian Sanctum, which was one of the first instances of a hard mode added where you could modulate the difficulty by removing 1, 2, or 3 of the drakes or leaving them all alive, and that would change the fight as well as give you more loot and have different mechanics. We also got the infamous hero class within the Death Knight added to Wrath. This class was extremely broken and got nerfed throughout all of Wrath, and looking at this trailer, they don't even have glowing blue eyes, as well as a reskin T4 Hunter set, which never was added to the game. What is this oversight, Blizzard? So we got a lot of things added. We got the new continent, which had tons of new zones, including the Winter's Grasp, which highlighted the new vehicle combat, as well as the siege warfare. We also got new dances. We actually didn't get new dances. Why is it 14 years later we still don't have those dances, Blizzard? In the first major content patch of Wrath of the Lich King, Secrets of Ulduar 3.1, we had the famous Ulduar raid added to the game, one of the most beloved raids and well-designed ones of all time. They also added the Argent Tournament, which was a daily hub which would set up the future patch in 3.2.
Thrall, what are you doing here so soon?
The summons sounded dire, Jaina. What's happened?
Bran Bronzebeard's forces assaulted the gates of Ulduar. They battled the Iron Lords and their cursed minions.
Immersive action! Immersive action!
He won't stop talking about this presence he felt, permeating the great halls, stirring in their minds, chilling their blood. He said, the horror that the Titans imprisoned so long ago, Yogg Saron has awakened.
The old god is laughing.
Ulduar had 14 bosses, with 10 of them having a hard mode, including Yogg Saron with a modular difficulty that took 85 days to defeat. One of the best bosses and well-designed raids of all time. Patch 3.2 was called the Call of the Crusade. It mainly took place in Northern Icecrown, located at the Argent Tournament. The main purpose of this tournament was to find warriors that would be strong enough to go and battle the Lich King in his citadel in Icecrown. It was even taking from both factions, both the Alliance and Horde, who were fighting the whole time, but knew that they had to work somewhat okay together to take down the Lich King. They also added a 5-man dungeon, which featured the mounted combat, and it had better loot than all the other heroics at the time, so a lot of people would just run it, and it could also be a very quick heroic, which is 3 bosses in 1 room. They also added the 10 and 25 man raid, which only had 5 bosses and was pretty much located in just 1 or 2 rooms, which was a bit lackluster to some coming off the high that was Ulduar, but did have some good features such as the tributes to insanity, where if you didn't wipe it all, then you would get a special amount depending on your faction if you managed to defeat all 5 bosses. Then they added the Isle of Conquest, a great 40v40 battleground, which highlighted, of course, the siege and vehicle combat. This was a very large battleground, so naturally it would lead to giant deathball battles between the 2 factions. They also added experience in battlegrounds in this patch, so if you wanted to only PvP to level, you could do that as an option. However, in this Wrath, we will have that already.
Rise up, Argent Crusaders! The hour of justice has come!
Patch 3.3 is the last major patch added to Wrath of the Lich King, and it added with it 3 new dungeons in order: the Forge of Souls, the Pit of Saron, and the Halls of Reflection, all focused on the Lich King as well as some of the things he was creating over here in Northrend.
Can you feel it, my son? Closing in all around you. The light's justice has been awakened. The sins of the past have finally caught up to you. You will be called to account for all the atrocities you've committed.
It also brought with it the major raid in Icecrown Citadel, a 10 and 25 man as well as normal and heroic modes, which had 13 bosses. A lot of very good bosses as well, and some that were very difficult, like Professor Putricide, as well as, of course, the Lich King. Trial of the Crusader brought in with it the limited attempts mechanic, and they also seemed to like that, so they brought it back in ICC. That was part of the reason it was more difficult to do full clears in ICC, as you'd only get certain attempts on the bosses, and of course some of them were very difficult.
Though my soul was one of the first to be devoured by your evil, there are thousands more bound within this blade, and they cry out for release.
This patch also brought with it the Dungeon Finder, and it was so controversial it's not even being brought back for Wrath Classic.
Look now to your defenses, my son, for the champions of justice gather at your gates.
There was one more raid added after the Icecrown Citadel, and that was called the Ruby Sanctum, which had a one-boss mob called Halion, which was offered in both 10 and 25 man, heroic and normal. It was the only other mob that had loot equivalent to the Lich King, so it was highly sought after even after Icecrown was out. So the question comes, once we hit that point in this version of Wrath, what will Blizzard do? Will they come out with Cataclysm and just keep going with new expansions? Or will they do more of the old school RuneScape route and make a Wrath of the Lich King Plus, knowing that it was the most popular expansion of all time and their peak? The inevitable defeat of the Lich King will come, but what will come after that?
They did it! They killed him! They did it!
They killed him! We can come out!
Yes!
Who did it, you guys? We're totally heroes.
That was such uber ponage.
I can't believe it's all over. What do we do now? What do you mean? Now we can finally play the game.
Oh yeah.
You shall be king.